There we go. All righty. So purchasing a car. At one point, each and every one of you will be owning a car, whether it's new, used, or pre-owned, or any other of these fancy terms that car dealerships will throw at you. But today, like I mentioned, we're going to be covering some of the other costs of owning a vehicle. So let's get this going. All right. So for our goals for today, we're going to continue to build our car shopping knowledge. So Mr. Marquez went over how to finance a car a few weeks back. For those of you who may have missed it, I'm sure we have that recording. If not, we can always cover that again. Also, I want you all to learn what else to consider before you make a purchase on a vehicle. There's a lot, and we're going to come up with some of the topics to definitely think about before we make a decision. Our ultimate goal is to learn what are the true costs of owning a vehicle. A lot of times people think we look at the monthly price of a vehicle. That's how much I'm paying to own my car. Not entirely true. And I'll show you that. And we're also going to learn some of the basics of being a smart shopper. So for those of you who are a little bit older that are going to be going into college very, very soon, looking at you, my juniors, this is also good to know. Sophomores, same thing. Freshmen, it's going to come by really quick as well. And also, I want you all to research a car of your choice and see what it costs to actually own that vehicle as well. Also, I'll throw different links at you guys as well. And I'll even cover the website, how to navigate some of the stuff. It's super simple. It's pretty straightforward, but that's exactly what we're going to cover for today. All righty. So this is where I want y'all to think. You can use a chat. I want you to name any car manufacturer you may have heard of. You can even look at this picture as a reference. These are some of the symbols. Some of them actually have the name on it. Use the chat. Just let me know. What are some of the car manufacturers you may have heard of? And I'll pull up the chat in the meantime. All right. Nissan, Chevy, yep. Ford, Nissan, Toyota, yep. Honda, yep. Yeah, absolutely. Tesla. How could I miss Tesla? Mitsubishi. Wow, that's the one I don't normally hear. The Corolla Accord. Those are cars. Yeah, but that falls under Toyota. Kia. Yes, absolutely. I'm a little sad. None of you all mentioned Hyundai yet. Lincoln. Yeah, absolutely. So there are tons of car manufacturers. But before we make a decision, I want y'all to think out of the so many possibilities, what should I even be looking for before I even decide what kind of car I'd like? So here's my question to you all. When you think of owning a vehicle, what are some of the ways you can purchase one? Maybe a little bit difficult to answer right now, but you can use the chat or you can unmute yourself. What are some of the ways you can own and purchase a vehicle? Amy, that's right. Lease, that's one of them. Jasmine, yes, you can go to a car dealership to ask to purchase one. Yep, you can buy a used one. Offer up, yeah, that's one way you can go about it, right? As if you're buying it from someone else, right? I love that, Emmanuel. Love it. So yes, there are multiple ways to actually own a vehicle. Stealing is not one of them, just putting it out there. So what I want to show you all today is, I'm sure many of you have heard financing and leasing. Have any of you heard of those terms before? And you can use the chat for this as well. Ooh, we have a good amount of yeses. All right, I love that. So do we have one brave soul who can try to give me an example, not an example, but a definition or the difference between financing and leasing a vehicle? No pressure. Jasmine, go for it.
So for lease, it's a contract which allows you, I would assume, to kind of like rent the thing. Like it could be a land or a car property for an amount of time.
That is exactly right. Yeah, that's perfect. So yes, leasing is you're owning for a particular amount of time or what other people view as renting a vehicle. I'm gonna go ahead and play this video to kind of highlight some of the differences between leasing and financing. So hopefully y'all can hear my audio and we can get this going. But thank you so much for answering that, Jasmine.
Oh, no problem.
Awesome. All right, so here we go.
Should you lease or should you buy is a question facing every driver in the market for a new car. It's an important question to ask and a surprisingly contentious topic with staunch advocates on both sides. In this video, we're going to lay out the pros and cons of both leasing and buying a car so that you can make an informed decision that best suits your individual needs. But before we do this, let's define what your options are. Leasing is an agreement you make with the dealership where you regularly make payments to use the vehicle for a set period of time, typically 36 to 48 months. At the end of your term, you can either choose to purchase the vehicle or return it for a newer model. There are two paths you can take towards vehicle ownership. One is financing, which is where you take out a loan for a vehicle and then repay that loan through monthly payments. The second option is to pay for the entire vehicle up front with no monthly payments. So which of these options is right for you? Let's start with leasing. One of the main perks to leasing is that you get a new car every few years. So if you're a car person who loves the latest technology and high-end performance, leasing will help satisfy your urge to drive on the cutting edge of automobile technology. Leasing is cheaper in the short term, so people with tight or uncertain cash flow would benefit from lower monthly payments. That being said, leasing is almost always more expensive in the long term. Leasing can be more flexible. If you move a lot or aren't ready to commit to long-term vehicle ownership, no problem. Just lease. Now, there are a few catches, namely mileage and wear and tear agreements. Your lease will usually include a strict kilometer limit, which if exceeded will result in large financial penalties. In addition to this, not taking care of your vehicle and exceeding what is considered normal wear and tear may result in further penalties. Finally, ending the lease early can be both challenging and costly with early termination fees and stipulations. Okay, let's move on to financing and owning. A massive benefit to financing is that you own your vehicle once you finish making payments. This does give you flexibility, especially when selling your vehicle, so that you can recover the remaining equity and really do whatever you want with it, like using it as a down payment for a new car, paying off your credit card, or splurging on a vacation. On top of this, you can trade in your car at any time without having to pay an early termination fee or deal with mileage limits or wear and tear agreements. Finally, an added perk in financing your car is that you can also use it to help rebuild your credit score so long as you make payments on time. The main downside to financing your vehicle is that the monthly payments will be higher than if you were to lease your vehicle. So if cash flow is tight, this may not be a great option for you. Okay, let's talk about buying your car outright. If you have cash to do this, it might be worth considering. First of all, you are foregoing the interest rates that come along with leasing and financing. Although interest rates are fairly low these days, so you'll need to keep that in mind. That being said, there are cash incentives from the dealership, which may make paying cash even more attractive. This really is a personal decision that you need to make for yourself and ask the question, could you use this cash for other projects and investments that would ultimately outperform any savings you might accrue from foregoing any interest payments? Now you might be wondering, does leasing or buying affect my insurance? It's a great question. Generally, there's little to no effect on your car insurance, whether you are buying versus leasing. The only significant difference is that when you lease your vehicle, the leasing company will be listed on your policy since they're technically the owner of the car. And because of this, they will also require that you protect their interest with physical damage coverages. As always, for more information on buying versus leasing a car and all things insurance, check out our blog or connect with a big broker. We're here to be your trusted insurance advisors.
Alrighty, I know that's a lot, but we're gonna break it down very, very soon. And let me answer this one question. I believe I didn't see this too well. Domini. Okay, so this is for everyone, but this is a great question to ask. So when you look at a license plate on the back, you might notice that it'll say like a month and a year in a little sticker, right? It's a small little sticker. What that is basically a car registration. And that's something that you actually need to pay for every single year. So we're already going to see that on top of monthly payments, we have to pay a car registration. Yeah, that's already on top of that every single year. Kind of crazy, right? So that's a good question. And if any questions come up about cars or anything like that, I'd love to answer them as well. But let's move on to this next.
Should you lease or should you?
There we go. All right. So the differences that were covered. Can I have a lovely volunteer to read the financing, the section? What are the differences?
I can read it.
Go for it.
So financing, higher monthly payments, you own the vehicle, cheaper in the longer run.
Absolutely, yes. So although you own the vehicle, the trade-off is your monthly payments will be higher. You do have the benefit of actually owning the vehicle, so you can drive it as much as you'd like. You can run it into the ground, don't recommend, but you absolutely can do everything and anything with that vehicle. And in the long run, although the monthly payments are higher, in the beginning, if you're planning on owning the vehicle for a long period of time, then it's going to be cheaper in the long run, because at some point, guess what? You guys won't be able, well, you won't have to make monthly payments because you'll straight up own the vehicle. Already, leasing. Who can I have as a lovely volunteer to read that section for me?
I can read it.
Go for it.
Leasing, drive a new vehicle more often, cheaper monthly payments, and fewer maintenance costs.
Thank you, Sebastian. Alrighty, so absolutely. So leasing, or as one of you put it, and it was beautifully put together, leasing is kind of like renting or owning a part of a vehicle for a certain amount of time. So what that means for you is that you're not committed to actually keeping the vehicle for a long period of time unless you want to, right? The trade-off also is there are cheaper monthly payments because you're not owning, you're not purchasing the whole vehicle. You're only purchasing a small portion of the vehicle, almost like renting. It's much smaller monthly payments, which that's what attracts some people as well. And there's actually another benefit to this, is fewer maintenance costs. So here's why. So if you're able to own the vehicle, right, when you finance it, you can drive it as much as you want. But at some point, your vehicle is going to need maintenance. And I'll talk to you more about that later on in the presentation. But if you're leasing, you have a certain amount of miles you can drive. So what that means for you, if you decide to lease, you don't have to have as frequent maintenance costs. So the cost to actually own the vehicle is a little bit less now. But the trade-off is this: you're not owning it, and in the long run, it's a lot more expensive. Awesome. So, and this is a bit more of a summary, right? There's some of the more differences between buying and actually just leasing the vehicle. So the money, if we're looking to buy, requires more money upfront each month, right? The more cost, it's more costly. Leasing costs less, right? The benefit is at some point, if you decide to own your car, you're eventually going to pay it off and no more monthly payments. You're done. If you're leasing a vehicle, then you're going to forever make payments on cars because you're always renting, right? That's the trade-off. Although it's a less of a monthly payment, you're going to be paying for it for such a long time until you decide either I'm done with the leasing or I'm just going to purchase the vehicle at some point. So the commitment, it's different. Leasing, you can just get rid of it every couple of years. Owning, you might be stuck with it for quite a while. And there are a few other pros and cons to each as well. So the point is, whether you decide to purchase and finance a vehicle or you decide to lease or rent the vehicle, is completely up to you. It depends on what your situation is, and there are benefits to both ends as well. So it's something to keep in mind as well. All righty. Now let's actually look at some of the other costs of owning a car. And Mr. Marquez did a wonderful job explaining this in the previous presentation. So can I have a lovely volunteer read this slide for me?
I could do it.
Awesome. Thank you, Jasmine.
No problem. Cost of owning a car, monthly payment. This is how much you are paying for your
Ooh,
let's
I missed
also
that.
yeah, I kind of noticed. Let's also consider the following: cost of fuel. How much do I spend monthly? Cost of car insurance. Does the car I drive affect my cost? Cost of maintenance. What does it cost to keep my car healthy and running?
Thank you so much, Jasmine. Alrighty, so yes, monthly payment. That's how much you're paying, whether you're financing or leasing. That's how much it costs for you to just have that vehicle with you. This isn't even including your cost for fuel. This isn't including your insurance or the maintenance to keep your car running healthy and well. But let's fall back. Cost of fuel. I'm gonna ask, actually, I'll ask this to everyone and post this in the chat. How much money do you think the average adult spends on fuel on a monthly basis? You can use your parents as an example if you ever see them stop by at, at the gas pump. Just a rough estimate. What do you all think? I will say this. Have you seen the prices in California lately for
I
gas?
heard they rise lately. My mom said that she had to spend $100 just on gas.
Mhm. Just keep that in mind. Keep it in mind. Let's look at the chat. Jasmine, $70. Okay.
I was
300.
thinking about it before they started rising.
Yeah, you know what? At the beginning, I want to say maybe 2 years ago, when everything started closing down, that's probably right. $70. That would probably carry you the whole month. NAMI 300. Yeah, 320. If you notice, these numbers may sound outrageous, which they are. Don't get me wrong, but it's something that we need our car to have. We need some sort of fuel. But and I'll talk to you more about this. You can actually save yourself some of the costs of refueling your vehicle depending on the type of vehicle you own. So I'll show you that all in a second. So Stephanie, Dumini, Nami, Jasmine, thank you for posting in that chat as well. Alrighty. So whether you have, and I'm sure, actually, I'll ask you this before I even tell you the answer. This is for everyone. What are some of the types of cars you may have heard of? Not the car manufacturers. Some of you have mentioned Tesla. Some of you have mentioned your traditional type of cars. Maybe a little bit hard to answer, but what are some of the types of cars are out there?
I know that there are like hybrid, gas, flex fuel, and then electric.
Yes, who said that? Who shared that?
Famita.
Awesome, thank you, Famita. Luis, the model. You know what? You can get very specific with the model, but yes, Famita, that is absolutely right. And I'll read off some of the chat as well, what they mentioned. So Valeria, yes, there are hybrid, electric, and gas vehicles. So your traditional vehicle is typically a gas vehicle. Hybrid vehicles, they'll split between having a gas and an electric motor. So your miles per gallon can go a little bit higher. So what does that mean for you? Your fuel cost, a little bit lower. Compressed natural gas, yes, that's actually one of them, but they're not as popular at the moment. There are diesel, and electric. Tesla, I'm sure many of you have heard that or seen them roaming around out in the streets. So yes, depending on the type of vehicle, you might be able to get further with a certain amount of money you spend on fuel. So that is a trade-off as well. Cost of car insurance. This is something that we absolutely need to start driving, right? We can't even, if we purchase a vehicle, we can't even drive off the lot without showing the dealership, here's my insurance. We need that. And the $1 million question is, does the car I drive affect my cost? Normally it doesn't, but there are tons of instances where yes, it absolutely can. If you're driving a sports car, some of you might have that dream car that you will get one day. They cost a little bit more to insure because they're a little bit more, at least how insurance looks at these cars, a little bit more dangerous to drive as well. So they'll adjust some of those costs as well. So that's something else to definitely keep in mind. And cost of maintenance. I need to have my car ready and healthy to go because I want to go and not have to worry about my car breaking down, right? And that's going to require some repair, some money that we need to invest along the way. So as we've seen, we have a monthly payment, we have a cost of fuel, car insurance, and maintenance. That's already 4 things. And guess what? These are some of the costs of actually just owning the vehicle, right? So it's not just the monthly payment. These are other things, that you will end up paying as well. Thank you for everyone for participating on that. Let's check this out as well. I threw a couple of videos in here as well. So let's check this one out. And this one is going beyond the monthly payment. So it'll recap a little bit of what we discussed. And this is actually from a new segment as well that they discussed this. So check this out.
You know, owning a car used to be a symbol of freedom in America, as you know, but now for many in the Bay Area, it's more like a ball and chain.
7 on your side's Michael Finney has been looking into the true cost of owning a car and what it takes to leave it all behind, Michael.
The average car cost per year, $9,000.
Really?
That's how much you're spending per car. A bigger part of your budget than food, less than housing. So you need to take a moment and really consider your options.
I bought it in 2015.
Chelsea Mowry is showing us her car. She likes it.
Yeah, I mean, nice drive, good gas mileage.
Do you know how many miles you put on it a year?
Probably about 10,000.
I met Chelsea when I asked on Twitter if anyone wanted me to figure out their actual car costs. How much does it cost you a month?
231 and some odd cents.
Man, she just said her car costs $231 a month.
I hear a lot of people say that their car costs what their car payment is. And for most people, that's actually not 100% accurate.
Matt is an automotive expert with Edmunds.com, a respected automotive website. Matt is using Edmunds online calculators to run the numbers, figuring Chelsea's gas costs, auto insurance, depreciation, and maintenance.
That's about $3,600, right? So if we divide that by the 12 months, that's $300 per month in addition to the $231. So your car really costs you about $530 per month.
I mean, that's a big difference.
More than double what she thought. Still, Chelsea has no plans to go carless, even though there are plenty of other options. Timothy Burr is director of public policy for Lyft.
Once you start to do the math and really dive into how much you're spending on car ownership, and then start to look at the alternatives. What if I am taking public transit more? What if I'm utilizing Lyft more, walking a bit more? I think you start to recognize that it just doesn't make great financial sense to own a car.
Timothy just got rid of his car. He says a quarter of all Lyft trips start or end at transit agencies. Andrew Salzberg is with Uber.
We don't see people getting rid of a car and replacing that one-to-one with Uber. We tend to see them using a combination of modes.
That's what Ashley Walker is doing. She commutes by BART from Oakland to San Francisco, walking on both ends of the trip. Nearly everywhere else, she takes Lyft.
There's a lot of freedom in not having to worry about car note and insurance.
So when do cars lose their grip on us? When we're young. Millennials are 30% less likely to own a car. When we live or work near public transit. Ease of use is key.
You have a car at the end of your driveway, you just use that car, it's easy to understand. What we want to build is something in the app that's just as convenient or more convenient than doing that.
And finally, if you do the math, you may leave the car behind.
If I had to make a guess, I'd say that I'm saving at least.
Now, Ashley is running the monthly number.
$600.
$600, you'd save about that. Uber and Lyft both offer carpool type rides and are also experimenting with subscription so that you will know exactly how much a commute will cost you.
So yes, this is probably more information than you thought, but they mentioned something super, super important. So this individual in particular thought their monthly payment or their monthly cost to own the vehicle was their cost that they're paying to have the vehicle. They didn't mention any of the other topics, gas, insurance, maintenance, none of that is actually included, and how it relates to you all. So for many of you, all of you are going to be going to college, but some of you will be living on campus, right? Some of you don't have to actually own a vehicle, don't have to actually commute, and you all can save yourself some of those costs as well while you're a student. Later on down the road, right, when you have your career, when you have your first job and you might have to commute, look at some of the options, because as we're taking a look at right now, owning a vehicle, not as cheap as we may have thought it to be. This isn't to say don't own a vehicle. This is something else to consider on top of it. All righty. So let's go. Yes, cost of fuel. So thank you, each and every one of you, for kind of highlighting some of the types of cars that there are. I know it's a bit of a tricky question to answer as well, but let's look at the types of cars that we have and some of the differences as well. So your conventional, your traditional car only runs off of gasoline, right? So when y'all look at those gas prices, my heart hurts for the traditional cars and the gas prices. The tailpipe emissions, we won't focus on that. This is more of like the eco friendly aspect of things. If you want to focus on that at a separate time, we absolutely can. But my focus is on what type of fuel these cars consume. A hybrid. So this is a type of car that has both the conventional traditional engine, and you also have an electric motor. So they're in that same car, but what that means is that hybrid vehicles will typically get higher gas mileage. So can anyone think of, and you can post this in the chat, what are some of the hybrid vehicles you may have heard of or may have seen on the streets? Yes, the Prius, the original, the grandfather or grandmother, the way, it doesn't matter how you look at it. Yes, and that you spelled it correctly. Yes, the Toyota Prius. That is one of the most common hybrid vehicles because of how great the gas mileage is. Sometimes you're getting over 50 miles per gallon. That's why some people switch over to the hybrid. So yes, although the cost of owning a car might be a lot, sometimes switching over to hybrids may be a little bit more cost effective in the long run, right? There's also plug-in hybrids, which I don't know, some of you may have heard, may not have heard of these. This is more of, these are the cars where you can actually charge them. So very similar to Teslas or the electric vehicles in general. You know how y'all can plug it in and it charges for a certain amount of time? That's exactly what plug-in hybrids are. They're hybrids, but you can actually charge them with electric power. So that also gives you a little bit more mileage, a little bit more range. And of course, it'll take gas and electric, but sometimes you can actually just run off of the electric motor by itself. And guess what? You don't have to worry about the cost of gas if you're not going that far. And then finally, we have electric cars. Tesla, that's one of the big, if not the biggest manufacturer there is for electric vehicles, but you're going to see a ton of different manufacturers introducing electric vehicles into their market. And I believe by, I want to say 2025, most, if not all car manufacturers are going to be switching to electric. So that's exciting. And it's something to take a look at. Of course, here's the trade-off for each and every one of these vehicles. As a rule of thumb, typically your conventional vehicles are not as expensive as hybrids, plug-in hybrids, or your electrics. And you all will look at some of the prices and compare them later on in the presentation today or after our presentation for our activity. So that's something else to consider. And here's some of the examples. So Valerie, you mentioned the Toyota Prius. There it is. The Ford C-Max, that's also one of the other ones, which not as well known, but just to recap again, the hybrids, they'll switch between a gas engine and an electric motor. So benefit, higher gas mileage, and the plug-in, you don't have to actually charge it like a plug-in hybrid. So that's the trade-off. Plug-in hybrids, very similar. You have the trade-off between gas and electric, so you'll have really good mileage as well. And electric, you'll have, actually, you're not spending any money on gasoline anymore. You're spending money on electricity, which in the long run compared to gas is so cheap. And we'll show you that later on as well. All righty, car insurance. I'm pretty sure each and every one of you have seen either ads. I don't know if you're watching on Hulu, Netflix, YouTube. Some of these car insurance ads are everywhere. So can I have a lovely volunteer read me what car insurance is?
I can go.
Go for it.
So car insurance, its primary use is to provide financial protection against physical damage or bodily injury resulting from traffic collisions and against liability that could also arise from incidents in a vehicle.
Thank you, Nami. Absolutely. So car insurance, this is the way that I put it. This is something that everyone pays for, should pay for, and hopes we don't need to use it. So it'll cover you from if you're ever into an accident, if someone bumps into your car, scratches it, you'll have that your car covered. And as you've seen, there's actually tons of different car insurances and different policies. We won't get into the specifics of it, but just know there are a ton of them out there. And hopefully some of you recognize some of these names as well. So what are some of the factors that might affect the cost of insurance? So can we go with, let's go with Melanie. Melanie, can we read some of the bullet points on this slide?
The younger the driver, the more expensive your insurance will be. If you lease a car, it will be more expensive than if you own. Why?
Thank you. Yes. So let's cover the first topic. So can anyone, and use the chat, this is for everyone. Why do you think it is that the younger a person is, why would insurance be more expensive? Type it in the chat. Or if you're a brave soul, unmute yourself.
It's probably, oh, go ahead.
No, it's okay. You can go.
It's fine. I'll just type it in chat.
I was gonna say that maybe they think that the younger you are, the more reckless you are, so it's like more dangerous.
Sebastian, thank you for sharing. Yes, absolutely. That is 100% right. So yes, that's how car insurances typically view a younger driver. You might hear the term at risk, and that's basically saying, you know, just because the driver is younger, they have less experience, they're a little bit more cautious. So in the trade-off for that is they'll actually raise the price of insurance. Here's the benefit for each and every one of you. After a certain amount of years that you've been driving, your car insurance price will go down. Will go down. It won't completely disappear, but it'll go down. And that's going to be an amazing thing for you all, because guess what? That's one less cost that you got to worry about. It was so expensive at one point, but with good driving history and whatnot, your cost went much lower. And then let me pull up the chat. I believe we have someone in here. Valeria, yes, because there's less experience. There's a higher risk of accidents. Nami, yes, yes, yes. And then Jasmine, because younger drivers could be more reckless. So they're trying to be protective if anything were to happen. Yes, absolutely. All wonderful responses. And now let's go to the second point. If you lease a car, it will be more expensive for insurance. This one, I'll give you the answer to this. The reason that's the case is when you own a vehicle, you can do whatever you want with it. You can drive it as much as you want. You don't have to take care of it. I encourage you to take care of the car anyways, but you don't have to take care of it as much as if you were to lease the car or rent the car, right? But the reason it's more expensive is because while you're driving a car that's leased, they want to make sure that that vehicle is fully covered from everything and anything that can possibly happen. And here's why. At some point, you're going to have to either return the lease or you can decide you want to keep it, right? But during that time that you're leasing that vehicle, they want to make sure that everything and anything is protected on that car. So that's why it's going to be more expensive for insurance if you lease the car as opposed to owning it. And over here on the right-hand side, you know, let's take a look at some of the other factors that might affect car insurance rates. So at some point, each and every one of you are going to be looking for car insurance, and it's going to ask you some of these questions. What's my occupation? What's my credit? What's my location? What's the car make and model? So the car make would be, you know, let's say it's a Ford, Lincoln, Nissan, Honda. The model could be, it could be like the Honda Accord, Toyota Corolla, Prius, so on and so forth. Your age, your marital status, your gender, and your driving record also affect your car insurance rates. So if you're a good driver, no accidents whatsoever, and you've been driving for quite a while, your cost of insurance, it'll be much lower compared to someone who may have had a few fender benders along the way. So these are things to consider. And this isn't a definitive breakdown of what they look at and the percentages, but this is just to give you a rough idea. All right, let's move on to the next one. And this is just to give you all a bit of an idea of how different car insurance costs can be. So even if you're an amazing driver and you check out this insurance, you might notice that one type of insurance. So let's say I go to State Farm or I'll go to Geico. You'll notice that some of the insurance costs are a little bit more expensive. The insurance companies find different ways to charge customers for their policy. So my advice to each and every one of you, find a good policy that works best for you. Lower the cost, of course. So that's just to give you all a rough idea. All righty. Cost of maintenance. Why would we need our car to be maintained? So Angel, Santiago, can we read the second bullet point?
You said read what?
Can we read the second bullet point?
Okay. Keeping up with regular maintenance schedule can help by preventing costly repairs of cooling system, transmission system, drivetrain, and other components. Preventive car care reduces wear and tear of the engine and other components that extend the life of your vehicle.
Awesome, thank you. So yes, if you regularly maintain that car, you're taking care of it. It's gonna keep driving well and ready for you, and you're not gonna have to worry about your car breaking down at a very random point in the day, right? So the better that we take care of it, the more frequently we take care of it, then the less we gotta worry about it, right? Car warranty. This is something else that I'll talk to you a little bit more about. So Luis, can we read what car warranty is?
A car warranty is a guarantee from the dealership that it will most likely fix certain elements of the car within a certain time frame or within a certain number of miles driven. Warranties vary in guarantees.
Thank you. Alrighty, so very much like the cost of insurance, they'll vary. So will your car warranties. Some manufacturers will say, I'll give you an example. Hyundai, 10 years, 100,000 mile warranty, or 100,000 mile warranty. You'll have another manufacturer like Toyota say 6 years, 50,000 miles. Each manufacturer has their own warranty policy, right? So before you make a decision, what kind of car you'd like, maybe you think, if anything were to happen to my car, do I want the warranty that this particular manufacturer is offering me? Something else to think about as well. And then just to give you an idea of what is car warranty, a little bit more in depth, I have this short little video.
I'm Jerry Reynolds, the Car Pro. Welcome to Cowboy Kia, the only Kia dealer in the greater Houston area that I recommend. Let's take a moment to review this wonderful video. It's important that you understand what exactly manufacturer warranties are and what they're not. It's equally important to know what circumstances can void your warranty between you and the company that built your car. The manufacturer's warranties are the promise of your vehicle's manufacturer to repair your vehicle for a specified period of time and/or mileage. Furthermore, all factory installed parts are covered against defects and workmanship. Now, each of your new car warranties will be explained to you during your time of purchase as well, bundled with your owner's manual for future reference. You can also check the owner's section of the manufacturer's website if you've misplaced any documents. Most common new car warranties are your basic warranty, powertrain warranty, emissions warranties, and corrosion warranty. These warranties can be your best ally when having to deal with untimely repairs. Now, as long as you've maintained the vehicle properly, serviced it at regular intervals, and are still within the warranty period, any dealer should be more than welcome to make your repairs covered by your warranties. Dealers are paid well to perform warranty work because the manufacturer of the vehicle is the party that's responsible for paying for those repairs, not the dealership. They're pleased to have your business and will take all the necessary steps to assure that they satisfy you and the entity paying the bill. Although keep in mind, your warranty can be denied. It's up to you to read through warranties and find out what is not covered.
So yes, the idea behind a warranty is if you're able to keep up the maintenance on your car, you're doing everything you can to keep your car running ready, well, and healthy, then if anything were to happen to it, let's say there is, you get one of those little warning signs on your dashboard that say, electrical failure or something that's wrong with the brakes or whatever it is, your car warranty your manufacturer should be able to cover it. So that's kind of the benefit. It's that peace of mind that any car owner, whether you're owning, whether you're leasing, should also keep in mind as well. So let's move on over here. And this is just to give you an idea, because I talk about maintenance. I talk about how often we should keep our vehicle running to keep it healthy. It depends on the car manufacturers, but just to give you an idea, on the top over here, it'll say mileage shown in miles. So this particular car, every 6,000 miles, there is a maintenance that the car is going to require. And then on here, you'll also see what are some of the things that will be fixed in each of these maintenance visits with your dealership. So they'll look at your brake fluid, they'll check your line, the brake lines, they'll rotate your tires. There's so many things that they cover, and the benefit and the peace of mind that comes with maintaining your vehicle is that you don't have to worry, will my vehicle make it to this destination? Because if you're taking care of it, guess what? You're good to go. But the benefit behind choosing warranty that works best for you or seems more appealing to you is that it's an additional peace of mind. So, and there's actually some really cool ones. I'm kind of biased in terms of what car I take a look at, but the one that I kind of show students in general is if they're ever wondering, is there any benefits of getting or maintaining my vehicle? Yes, there is. So Hyundai in particular, what they do is that if you're buying or leasing a new vehicle, they'll give you 3 years, or if the car has within 36,000 miles of you driving it, they'll cover complimentary maintenance. So what does that mean for you? Any major repairs done, it goes to a much smaller amount of money, which is pretty cool because now, guess what? On top of the other costs of owning, so from gas to insurance to maintenance, check it out. Maintenance is one that we can slowly come down on our price. So our overall cost of owning the vehicle, guess what? Goes down as well. So that's a bit of a trade-off as well. And each dealership, each car manufacturer might have their own complimentary maintenance plans as well. So that's something to also think about. And again, this is a bit of a recap. You know, some of the other costs, fuel, insurance, maintenance. But here's some of the other ones that we may not have thought about. Parking. Let's say we're going somewhere. We need to find some parking, and then you see $10, $20, or if for those of you who've been to Universal City Walk, $30 just to go in. That's a lot. And these amounts of money add up over time. And like earlier, one of you asked, what is that little sticker on the back of a license plate with the month and the year? That's your registration, your car registration. And that's something you need to do each and every year. And that comes out to a few $100s for that particular year. And that's something that we do every single year. All of this to say, just because we have a car payment doesn't mean that's the only thing it's going to cost to actually own our car. So here are some tips for choosing that car. Because now that we know what else to look out for, what else should I know when I choose my car? Knowing your credit score. So you can post in the chat, has anyone heard of what credit score is? Or have heard the term credit score before? Let's check it out. Nami, you've heard of it. Okay. Who else has heard of credit score or credit before?
I have.
Awesome. Valeria, you've heard of it. Jasmine, Dara, Dumini. Okay. So a good amount of you've heard of what credit score is. We won't go in depth as far as what credit score is and all the very nitty gritty specifics, but I'll show you very briefly why it even matters when you're looking for a car. A down payment. So whether you're going to finance or lease a car, a down payment, this is the money that is being paid up front. So what it means for you is, let's say I'm coming in and I want to buy a car and say, you know what, I'm bringing a $10,000 down payment. So what that means is that it's going to cost me even less to own on a monthly, or not, it'll cost me less to own and pay towards my monthly payments because I've already put a good chunk of money towards my vehicle. So that's why some people will say, you know what, I'll put a good down payment so my monthly cost is lower. Others will say, you know what, I'll keep the money in my bank, no down payment, and I'll just pay whatever the cost is. A second big piece of advice is know your budget. Each of you will at some point will say, you know what, mister, I'm looking for a car, but I don't know how much to afford or how much I can afford. We'll actually show you, and I'll send you this link on a car affordability calculator. So depending on how much money you say you want to spend, they'll look for cars in that price range as well. So hopefully that'll help you all kind of decide, these are the cars that are within my means at the moment. And for those of you who have that dream car one day, you can check out how much it's going to cost to actually own that vehicle. Also, compare your costs of car payments. So yes, although financing is more expensive, it's also cheaper in the long run. Leasing may be less expensive, but it's more expensive in the long run. So it's a bit of a trade-off. Interest rates. So unfortunately, interest will always and forever will be paid if you're ever borrowing money, whether it's owning or financing or leasing a vehicle. Interest rates can affect how much money you're going to be paying back on a monthly basis. So check out that you want the lowest amount of interest possible. So that means the lowest interest rates possible. But how does that even matter? How does that even tie in? Credit score. Alrighty, can I have a lovely volunteer read what credit score is? Someone that has not read before.
I'll read it.
Go for it.
Okay, credit score. What is it? It's a number between 300 and 850 that depicts a consumer's credit worthiness. The higher the score, lenders view it as more responsible, capable of repaying a loan. What is a credit based on? Number of open accounts, total level debts, repayment history, new credit, types of credit, length of history. And then we're going to revisit this.
We'll definitely revisit this topic. But before you go into a dealership, what you need to know is this. You need to know what your credit score is. And if you're looking for a vehicle, you're also going to want to know that your credit score is going to affect how much money or how much money you're approved to be lent out as a borrower, right? So typically, the higher your score, the more responsible you're seen as a borrower, right? So maybe some of you have seen this before or seen the advertisements, FICO credit score, and a bunch of other ones. But the idea behind a credit score is they want to look at the probability of a consumer paying back their loan. So the benefit is this: the higher the credit score, the better rates, the better offers you're actually going to have as well. I'll talk to you a little bit more about, how to raise that credit score, what to do when we're barely starting off as well. But just know that when you look at a little car affordability calculator, it's going to ask you interest rates. Pay attention to that and mess around with that number just to see how much money someone can be approved for with a higher score compared to a much lower score. Something to definitely keep in mind before making that decision. All righty, this is the end of the presentation, but we have an activity for you all. So let me share with you what this is. So I mentioned there's tons of costs of owning a vehicle, but I actually want you all to see what it actually costs for you to own a particular car. I found this website that you can use, and it'll show you what the cost of owning a vehicle is for 5 years, right? So it'll break it down and show you cost of gas or fuel, insurance, maintenance, everything. And it'll show you all of that. And I'll share that link very, very shortly. And I want you to compare some of these costs, right? Between a traditional car. You'll also see some options that'll say hybrid, electric. Check them out. Check them out, because you might be curious to see, what? I want to see how much it compares between owning an electric car compared to a hybrid or a traditional car. So we'll share that link very, very shortly as well. And I'll give you all a bit of a demo on that website. So that'll be our activity for the day. So let me stop sharing this as well. All right. So here is the first link that I'm going to share with you all. So how much does it cost to own a vehicle? We covered a lot of these topics today. So I'll give you an example. I want to see how much it costs for a particular car. Let's say I'm looking for, or I want to look at my dream car. Okay, you know what? Let's say I'm in the market for, I don't know. Let's look at a Hyundai. And I want to see the year. I want to buy one that's slightly used. Let's say I want to look at a 2020 year model. And these are the different types. So this is where I encourage you all. Check out some of the cars that'll say hybrid, electric. If it doesn't have either, then it's your traditional car. I want to look at, the Sonata hybrid. And then the style. So this is where you can choose some of the options. Sometimes you'll see like SEL, it'll be like a standard edition. You'll have a limited, you'll have a blue, it varies. Mess around with them because each of these cars will have different bells and whistles. I want to choose the limited. I want to be bougie today. Let's click go. So here it is. And I'll give you the breakdown. And it shows you over the course of 5 years. What I want you to look at is this, my cash price. So this is how much I'm paying for this particular vehicle. But over the course of 5 years, my actual cost of owning the vehicle is $50,954. Of course, this is an estimate, but this is the breakdown of why this number even came to be. So the taxes and fees of owning the vehicle, financing, right? How much money I spent on fuel for 5 years. That's $7,000, you know, with current gas prices. It could be more. Cost of insurance, repairs, maintenance. So look at the biggest costs of actually owning a vehicle: insurance, maintenance, and fuel. Depreciation. This is something that we didn't cover we didn't cover at all. But what depreciation is that the value of your car over time will decrease as well. So over the course of 5 years, my car depreciated by that amount, by $22,000. Some cars won't depreciate as much or as quickly. And this will give you the breakdown. My first year to own my car, there it is. My second, my third, my fourth, and my fifth. That's how you're able to get to this grand total. But I encourage you, shop around, check out what some of the costs to actually own the vehicle are. The second link that I sent you all is this part. How much I can even afford to purchase or lease the vehicle. So let's say I want to look at a car and I want to say, you know what? I don't want to spend more than $500 a month. Okay. My down payment. Remember, if I put a down payment, that means I'm actually able to afford a little bit more on a particular vehicle. Let's say I want to put a down payment. I don't know. I saved up for a year or two. I want to put a $5,000 down payment. Okay. So notice that the amount of money that I can afford for a vehicle actually went up. The trade-in value. So this is if, let's say you have a vehicle that you owned and you want to trade it in towards the cost of a new car. This is where you can input it. You can mess with this number too. Let's say you have a car and they'll tell you, the dealership will tell you, all right, we'll give you $3,000 for it. Look what happens to the cost that I can own. It goes up by that amount, right? Length of loan. So basically, how quickly do I want to own or lease this vehicle? Typically, it's between 36 and 48 months. You'll also notice that the more months that you actually put on the vehicle, the more you can afford. But remember, you're going to be paying a lot more in interest over time. That's why on paper, it'll say in 84 months or 7 years, I can afford a $50,000 car with my current $500 monthly payment, 5,000 down, $3,000 trade-in value. So Mr. Marquez also went over this last time, your APR or your interest rate. Unfortunately, let's say, let's say we're living in a perfect world and I got a 0% interest rate, no interest for 84 months. Insane. That'd be awesome. Let's say, it's not. Let's look at something like a 2% interest rate. All of a sudden, notice what happens. From zero, even if I put 2% interest rate, the number that we can afford actually goes down. Sales tax. I keep forgetting what sales tax is here in California, but I think it's like, what, 9.75, something like that. Ooh, that's 97%. That's too much. Let's say 9%. Look at how much we went down on already because of sales tax. So use this. And then what you can do too is you can shop cars in your budget as well. Check out what are some of the cars that you can afford with the numbers you put in as well. So that'll be for our activity for the day. Check out, write them down, what cars are within your budget as well. You can look at used cars. You can also, I believe you can even look at new cars, or you'll find new cars along the way. But I encourage you, check this out. Maybe you find a car that you really, really like, and you can check it out as well, but write them down. So that'll be our activity for the day. So does everyone know what we're doing for the next 15 minutes or so?
Mr. Alcala, I have a question.